Today's video is about my carbon canister setup on my Z. The issue here is you have a line from your fuel tank. Actually, it's from the called the vapor separator, but it's basically where evaporative gases from volatility of gasoline can come out of your fuel tank. They used to just vent them to the atmosphere, but that's not what they do anymore. They go into this carbon canister and they get trapped in the or charcoal in there, activated charcoal. And then when the way you get them out of there is eventually when you start the engine, fresh air purges through that and goes back through this vacuum line right here, which goes back to the intake. That's how it's supposed to work. The only real control of it is this purge valve. On modern cars, this stuff's all electronic, but this is old school stuff, so it's vacuum operated. This purge valve stays closed. It's called ported vacuum. It stays closed when it's idling, and that's, I guess, the idea there is you don't really want to have this thing sucking air or pulling. It's actually vented to the outside too. So when it's pulling air through here into the intake, it's drawing it through the carbon or the activated charcoal from atmospheric air to kind of purge it out of the charcoal. So anyway, I don't think you really want to have essentially an air leak at idle. So this vacuum only opens up when it's not idling on the ported vacuum. The problem I was having was when I tested the original one, which is right here, I noticed that pulling a vacuum, let me see if I can set this up real quick for you. Hold on. Okay. See, I've got it hooked up to where this would go to the engine vacuum, right to the intake manifold. And obviously there's no vacuum here. That's what it would do. It wouldn't hold vacuum. Now, I've done some work to it, so I pull real hard. I think I can get it to work. Maybe not. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press down on the top of this valve with my hand. There it goes. Now it holds vacuum. And if I put a vacuum signal in here, hang on, let's see if I can get this to work. Hold on. Okay, keep an eye on that. So essentially, imagine you have engine vacuum pulling right now. There's the vacuum gauge. I'm going to give it a little bit of a vacuum here to the control valve right here. And you see what happens. It drops off. And it would purge, and air would flow through the bottom of the canister and into the engine and clear that charcoal out. But you see the problem here. Sometimes I can get it to catch if I do it really hard and quickly enough. I mean, you would normally have a pretty high engine vacuum here, but it's not very reliable. So the new canister, the donor canister that I got, this came off of a Nissan Pathfinder. I got at a junkyard today for like $5. Works instantly. One pump and we're locked in. Okay. And as far as the vacuum's concerned, let's apply a vacuum to it. See how that works. Hold on for a second while I set this up. Sorry for the shaky video. I think I'll bring it up again. I didn't plan on demonstrating it, but I'll show you anyway. Okay. So now we're pulling a vacuum. We're holding. So in other words, we're idling. Let's say you're idling. The ported vacuum is not applying any vacuum to the purge valve. And now we get a little bit of a vacuum. Boom, it opens right up and it purges. So, clearly, this setup works much better than that setup. That's really only has 3 active parts. The intake from the tank, the purge to the intake manifold, and the signal line from the ported vacuum. This tank comes that way. There's an extra port here that's capped off and not used. This one sets up just like that too. And what I love about this setup is it's a perfect fit for the existing canister holding. It fits right in there. It looks very factory, as a matter of fact. So anyway, that's today's tip. If you care about this kind of stuff, which I do, you can go out and give your canister a quick test, see how it performs. You just saw what I did. Pull a vacuum on it, see if it holds the vacuum with no signal here. It should. If it doesn't, then like mine, this thing here might be a little defective. And I even checked this diaphragm. This will hold vacuum. If I apply a vacuum here, it'll hold. So that diaphragm's working, but it's kind of funny if you take it apart. You can take it apart, but you can't buy a new diaphragm, unfortunately. It relies on some very, very tight tolerance between a rubber disc and a little intake port, and blah 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 blah. And on mine, the rubber disc had a little shiny spot where it had been obviously sitting and being closed forever. And I guess that shiny spot was essentially not sealing, like it was like rubber that got a little bit hard, so it wasn't really sealing up well. And I think that's what really the problem was. I tried buffing it with some sandpaper, and I even tried putting some non-hardening seal, all kinds of stuff to try to make that pliable and work well again. So the diaphragm works, but it's just not activating as a good seal for the valve anymore. Anyway, that's it for today's thing. And like I said, that came out of a pretty sure like a mid-90s Nissan Pathfinder. And like I said, this dimension was perfect. The hoses were easy to hook up. It even tells you tank, a 2 fuel tank, 2 blah blah, and signal line, and there you go. It's pretty foolproof. Anyway, thanks for watching. That's all for now.